Today we're going to do a quick unboxing and first look at one of my favorite brands of knives, Benchmade. Can you guess what it is? Let's get started. Benchmade, one of my favorite all-time production class knives. They've been around since the late 80s, and I've owned many Benchmades over the years. My first one being an auto striker, much like the one we see pictured here. I had that in the late 90s. Ended up giving it away to a buddy of mine who was in law enforcement at the time. A decision I came to regret. I'd love to have that knife back, but you can't ungift a gift. But I digress. It's hard for me to mention the brand Benchmade without also thinking of the 940 by Osborne. One of the most iconic everyday carry or EDC folding knives ever released. This knife first came to market in around the year 2000, and they have sold a ton of knives since then and will continue to do so. From its iconic green aluminum handle to the purple titanium backspacer, and lest we forget the reverse Tonto blade shape, which is awesome. Fast forward to the year 2014 when the 940-1 was released, and this was a modern take on the 940 with a super steel S90V blade and an open back design featuring carbon fiber scales. The only glitch was the price point was way high. It was $320 MSRP. And there's a lot more things you can buy for that price that aren't knives that I was just more into at the time. Nevertheless, the 940 has never left my heart for being one of the best everyday carry designs and something I had to get my hands on eventually. And so the story goes, in 2016, Benchmade finally released a 940-2, and that is the knife I finally purchased nearly 19 years after the original release. Let's go ahead and unbox it. Alright, pulling our plastic tab and sliding our blue class box, revealing our silky black pouch. Holding our Benchmade. Let's slide up the cord lock and see what this is all about. There it is, the 940-2 with the black G10 handle and the axis lock tag under the clip. And those are the G10 scales I've been waiting for. Yes, I know this knife has been in production since 2016, but mine has a born on date on the box of February of 2019, and it is gorgeous. This is the version of the 940 I've always wanted. A stainless S30V blade with G10 scales. It is beautiful. Still, we have the open back design with those anodized barrel aluminum spacers. Beautiful green with the black. Gorgeous. So it's 19 years in the making, and I am very happy with the overall look and feel of this knife. G10 is the perfect handle material, I think, for an everyday carry. And we'll look into some of the reasons why I like it over the other materials that were offered in the 940s. This is the aluminum and the carbon fiber. Here's a look at the blade retention. You can see it's self-closing. It's got that spring incorporated with the axis locking system, which is a patented, wonderful technology I love about Benchmade. And the fit and finish are very, very nice on the axis mechanism and blade. A few facts on the knife. It is a lightweight, everyday carry knife. It weighs only 2.6 ounces. The blade length is going to be 3.4 inches, and the overall length is 7.8 inches. Very manageable, great pocket knife. Let's get a little closer look here at the G10 scales and some of the craftsmanship. The blade centering on this one is near perfect. Very happy with the tolerances on this knife. I've heard horror stories about the QC at Benchmade lately, and overall pretty happy. I'm going to talk a little bit about the scales in just a second. So this is actually my second take on this video. I've had this knife for a few days now and wanted to talk a little bit about the quality control that I've seen on this particular model. And the G10 scale is something I was desiring and something I really wanted, but I did notice some imperfections here. The clip side has considerably less texturing than the what I call the thumb side, the other side, which has a little bit more texturing. Overall, the texturing on this knife is very weak. I've seen way more aggressive, more appropriate texturing on my Spyderco knives, which I think is an awesome version of what G10 should look like on a handle. So I think this is a miss as far as the QC goes with this lack of texturing here in this section on the clip side. That said, overall, the knife is still amazing and I still love it, but that is definitely something that hurts a little bit, especially when you pay upwards of $200 for a knife. Now, would I call this a deal breaker by any means? Hell no. This is going to be an everyday carry knife for me, and it's the least of my worries. I still think G10, the material of this knife, is so much better than carbon fiber or the aluminum. So don't get me wrong. It's just I had to point that out. I still think this knife is awesome. Let's get away from the grip and get to the blade. There is no blade play on this knife. The tolerances are phenomenal. All right, let's do a quick comparison to one of my favorite everyday carries, the Spyderco Tenacious. I know it's in a completely different class and price range, but it's a great everyday carry knife, and I wanted to show you just how these things stack up. So let's lay them down side by side. You can see the bulkier Spyderco. While we're at it, let's go ahead and bring in a Griptilian. This is a full-size 551, just to give you some more perspective here. These are all definitely recommended everyday carry knives. It's hard to deny, but you can just see how refined and well behaved the 940 is with these clunkier yet well respected everyday carry knives. So why did I pick the 940-2 over the earlier versions of the 940? Can we start with the aluminum handles? They're definitely not my first choice when it comes to an everyday carry. I much prefer G10. And the closed back design of the original 940 to me is dated. It traps pocket lint. It is not as practical as an open back design. That said, I didn't choose the 940-1 because I certainly wasn't looking for a super steel in an everyday carry knife with the S90V and wasn't willing to pay the premium for the carbon fiber. At $320 MSRP, this knife is priced more for somebody who's looking to collect than to just an everyday carry useful knife in my book. Another thing is I think the carbon fiber is more brittle. It's almost more splintery than the G10, if you understand what I'm saying. I think the G10's got a little bit of a impact resistant density that's hard to explain. It's just a little bit more resilient than a carbon fiber. To me, carbon fiber is a little bit more brittle and splintery, if that makes sense to you. So, in closing, which 940 would I buy? Well, the easy answer is you should buy them all because they are all amazing, which I couldn't argue. They are all amazing. But if you had to buy only one 940, this is still the version I recommend. To me, it's the most practical everyday carry version. G10 is around for a reason. All the knife makers are using it because it works and it's affordable and it's so durable. Bottom line is, this is the version of the 940 I recommend you go with. The 940-2, overall, I think it's a great knife. And that wraps up my first knife video. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you next time.